The brick hit me before I ever saw my father's arm move. 1 second I was standing on my parents' cracked front walkway, wearing the pale blue dress I'd bought to announce my wedding date. The next, everything exploded into white. A wet crack, warmth pouring over my left eye. My knees buckled as pieces of red brick scattered across the concrete, like broken pottery. Someone screamed. Later, I realized it was me. My fiancé, Beckett Hayes, caught me before my face hit the porch steps. Blood soaked his white shirt in seconds. "Daphne, stay with me." I tried opening my left eye. Nothing. Just darkness. Then, through my blurred right eye, I saw my mother. Not horrified, not running toward me. Laughing. Real laughter, hand over her mouth. "I told you," she giggled. Then, to Beckett, "Let's see if he still loves you now." My father dropped the other half of the brick onto the grass, breathing calm, almost satisfied. Should have listened. Beckett stared at them like he'd forgotten how human beings were supposed to behave. "What did you just do?" Nobody answered. My younger sister, Corinne, stepped out from behind the door. Perfect makeup, fresh manicure, irritated. Not because I was bleeding, because dinner had been interrupted. "I said she wasn't going to move," she said, arms folded. Mom sighed. "Well, we tried the nice way." Then my father said the words that landed harder than the brick itself. "You're just dating the wrong daughter." He looked straight at Beckett. "You heard me. Daphne has always been difficult. You're dating the wrong daughter." Blood filled my mouth, metallic and warm. Beckett grabbed his phone to call for help. My father kicked it out of his hand, shattering it across the driveway. "You aren't calling anybody!" Beckett shoved him. My father, pushing 62, recovered fast and charged him like a bull. They crashed into the flower beds while Mom and Corinne simply watched, bored, like this had all been planned. I heard my father snarl into the fight. "Marry Karen or you leave this family forever." "I'm not marrying your daughter. I love Daphne." Corinne stepped closer, smiling, not flirtatious, calculating. "You'll get over her. I wouldn't date you if you were the last woman alive," Beckett said. And something in Corinne snapped. "You chose that," she said, pointing at me bleeding on the concrete. "Over me." None of this was new. Only bigger. The favoritism had started before I could remember. My toys became Corinne's when she wanted them. My scholarship was selfish. Her dropping out was finding herself. My first car got handed to her because she needed confidence. I just never imagined it would become this. Beckett finally shoved my father off and sprinted toward the road, flagging down a passing truck. A gray-haired electrician took one look at me and pulled out his phone without hesitation. My father started toward him. The man didn't flinch. "Take one more step, and I'll tell dispatch you're attacking another person." My father froze, for the first time all evening, uncertain. The ambulance arrived 7 minutes later. Those 7 minutes felt longer than the previous 28 years of my life. As the doors closed, I looked back one last time. My parents weren't scared. They weren't guilty. They looked annoyed. Like we'd ruined their evening. And just before we pulled away, I saw something strange. An elderly man I'd never seen before, standing behind my parents' living room curtain, watching. He lifted one trembling hand against the glass, like he wanted to warn me. Then the curtain fell, and everything went black. I woke to the smell of antiseptic and my own blood. A doctor, Meredith Sloan, told me gently that we'd reconstructed my orbital bone and closed over 60 stitches. My vision, she said, should return. Swelling was hiding the truth for now. Should. Not. Will. Beckett hadn't left the floor since I arrived. When he took my hand, he cried for the first time since I'd known him. Detective Roland Mercer came next, gray-bearded, soft-spoken, and asked the question that broke the dam. "Did your father intentionally strike you with that brick?" "Yes." "Any previous threats?" And it all came flooding back. Every slap, every stolen credit, every Christmas where the real gifts went to Corinne. Yes. Then Mercer asked the real question. Why did my father want Beckett gone? Money. 3 months earlier, Beckett had sold his construction company and become wealthy. My parents found out by accident at a barbecue, and that same night, for the first time in 2 years, they invited us to dinner. I thought it meant healing. Instead, Mom grilled Beckett about his investments all night. And Corin, who'd ignored him for years, suddenly laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, complimented his watch. Within weeks, she was showing up everywhere: his gym, his coffee shop, his office. She texted from blocked numbers, sent gifts he returned unopened, waited outside our apartment. "I'll give you everything," she never could. He walked past her. She told my parents he was confused, that I'd manipulated him. From that day on, every conversation became the same. "Step aside, you're being selfish. You always take everything first." We stopped visiting. They invited us back anyway. That dinner ended with a brick in my face. Mercer's jaw tightened. "They believed disfiguring you would make him leave you for your sister." Then a nurse appeared. 3 visitors were asking for me. My parents. Corin. Beckett stood instantly. "They're not coming in." And the nurse looked relieved. But their voices carried through the door anyway. My father, shouting that I'd embarrassed the family. My mother, demanding an apology. Mercer stepped into the hallway to handle it, and through the gap, I heard him say 6 words that changed everything. "I've also spoken to 6 witnesses. Not just the electrician, paramedics, the trauma surgeon, and a neighbor's security camera that had recorded the last 4 minutes of the attack." Silence. Then my father, to my sister, in a voice cold enough to damn him, "Delete it." Handcuffs. My mother screaming. Corin crying. My father insisting it was all a misunderstanding, right up until an old man's voice rang down the corridor. "I've been waiting 26 years for someone to finally stop him." It was the man from the curtain. He wasn't looking at the police, or at my parents being led away. He was looking only at me. "I think it's finally time you learned who I really am." When the hallway emptied, he came in slowly, arthritis twisting his fingers, and sat beside my bed. "My name is Everett Lawson," he said. "I was your grandfather's best friend." My grandfather had died before I was born, but Everett had known him better than anyone. He pulled a photograph from a worn leather briefcase, 2 young men laughing beside a half-built cabin. He called me his brother. My parents had never once mentioned him. "They couldn't," he said. "Your father made sure I disappeared." Then, piece by piece, he dismantled 28 years of my life. My grandfather had built me a hand-carved wooden cradle before I was born. Maple, smooth stars. My father burned it, calling daughters a waste of effort. The day I was born, my grandfather held me for nearly an hour and said, "She's going to change this family." But my father had wanted a son, and when Corin was born 3 years later, Everett said quietly, "That didn't matter, because in my father's mind, Corin should have been born your first." He'd never forgiven me for simply existing before her. I couldn't breathe. Every birthday, every Christmas, every sacrifice demanded of me, every failure of hers, absorbed by me. It had never been random. It had been punishment for the accident of birth order. Then Everett reached into the briefcase one final time and pulled out a thick bundle of envelopes, tied with faded blue ribbon, my name written across each one in elegant handwriting. "Your grandfather wrote you a letter every year before he died," he said, voice breaking. "He asked me to deliver one on every birthday. Your father threatened to have me arrested for stalking if I ever came near you, so I kept them, all of them, for 26 years. I touched the top envelope with trembling fingers, the first real, unconditional love my family had ever tried to give me. Finally, 26 years too late, arriving in the same week the rest of them were finally taken away in handcuffs.